Yeah, you can start talking about your career.
Okay, awesome. Well, hi, my name's Sarah Calzada. Thank you, Addison, for having me come into this class to talk about what I do. I graduated Bolton in 2015, and then I went to SUNY ESF, which is an environmental science and forestry school. I went for environmental biology, and I graduated in 2018 with a Bachelor of Science diploma in environmental biology. So I wanted to find like jobs that had to do with my schooling because I'm really passionate about the environment and wanting to preserve the beauty of especially the Adirondacks, like different areas throughout the world. Um, and so I found myself applying to be an aquatic invasive species scuba diver, which is something you don't like hear about very often. But so I that's what I did. I started working for Invasive Solutions Dive Company, and um, my title was a diver. So what we do is we go around to different lakes throughout the Adirondacks and we remove aquatic invasive plant species um, in these different lakes. And how we do that is we have crews of 3 people. So we have a crew leader and then 2 divers in the water. So the role of the crew lead is to make sure the divers don't get hit by boats. So they are responsible for their safety. And they also record GPS points of where the divers are finding these invasive plants. And just for those of you who are unaware of what invasive species are, it's just they're species that come from a different area. They are not native to the Adirondacks, and they are harmful to the aquatic environment because they um, they mess up the balance of the ecosystem. They choke out the native plants that serve as habitat for the fish species. So it's important to get rid of these invasive plants um, in these lakes that we use as recreation. So how we remove these plants is the divers go under and they literally remove it with their hands, making sure that they get all of the roots, every fragment that falls off the plant, because these plants reproduce through fragmentation. So if you leave a piece of root ball or if you leave any part of the plant in the water, it can float away and then create a new plant um, on the bottom of the lake. So we remove these plants and put them in our little mesh bags. And every lake is different. Some lakes you fill like 50 bags a day. Some lakes you barely fill any. But our goal is to get the lakes to a point where we just have to, where there's like minimal amount of invasive species. You're never going to be able to get all of them out of the lake just because they reproduce so fast. Um, but we try our best, and every year we come back, the lakes look better and better. So we want to get them to that maintenance stage, um, which is like always what we try to do. So for special certifications, in order to get this job, you do need to be open water scuba diver certified. So you could do that through PADI, which is it stands for the Professional Association of Diving Instructors. Or like me, you could get it through National Aquatic Service. Any equivalent open water diving certification is what is needed to be able to be hired and to be trained. So I was actually certified through my school. So SUNY ESF had this dive course that we could take if we wanted to, and that was the perfect way to do it because it was cheaper than taking a course through like a dive school, and it counted towards my marine science minor, so it counted as credit towards my diploma, which is really cool. So if you are at all interested in getting scuba diving certified, I would highly recommend doing it through some sort of like your school that you go to. For training, you do need a high school diploma, but you do not need to have graduated from college to be able to be an aquatic invasive diver. You you do all you need is the open water diving certification. But an environmental background is very helpful when you're learning which plants you need to be removing and which plants you need to be leaving, because you don't want to be picking native plants. But the first couple of weeks that you work for this company, they will train you um, on like how to identify these plants, because it's important to know what you're picking and what you need to pick. But you do not need any prior knowledge before landing this job, because they will train you. You will be put in the water with experienced divers who know what they're doing, who have been doing this for years, and but it is very helpful to have that environmental biology knowledge base if you want to go to school for that. It's like it's a great thing to know. For the work environment, it's very close quarters with the crew. You need to be able to get along with the people you're working with. You need to be a team player. There's only three people in a crew, so it's just you and two other people. You're on a boat all day. You're underwater for most of the day, but when you're out of the water, you're literally in a boat. Like, it's very close quarters. You want to be able to work as a team, work well together. So that's just something to keep in mind. You need to be able to work well with others in this job, because a lot of things need to happen to have a successful week. You need to move gear. You need to just like support each other. And especially you need to brave the elements with your crew. It can be really cold in the beginning and end of the season, because we start in May and we end in October. So those couple weeks at the beginning and end can be really cold. So you need to have the right gear. But the company sends you a list of like all of the supplies you need and different layers that they would prefer you have so you can be comfortable in the water. And then in the mid-summers, it's really hot. So you need to make sure you're drinking a lot of water. And like I said, you can dive up to 8 hours a day. Our work days are Monday through Thursday. So we work 4 days a week, but we work 10 hours each day. So it is a full-time job. You get a 3-day weekend. It's a lot of diving, but I think the extra 2 hours a day is so worth doing in order to get that Friday off, especially throughout the summer. It's very helpful. The only weather where we're not allowed to work in is obviously like thunder and lightning. We'll work in the rain all day, but once it starts to thunder, like, you need to get out of the water. It's too dangerous to work in those conditions. And that's the crew leader's job, to pull the crew out if there's a storm coming, and they're constantly in contact with the owners of the company, who are constantly checking the weather around the lakes that we're at that week. One of the downsides of this job is there aren't any benefits. It's a seasonal job. There's no health insurance. It's the season's too short to like give all of the employees this benefit, which kind of stinks, but I mean, it makes sense. What the company does do for us though is if you get an ear infection or your ears are starting to feel uncomfortable in any way, which is a very common occurrence in like on the cruise that I've been on. You they will help pay for a doctor's visit for your ears and any medications that you need to to get better, because everybody's important on the cruise. This company last year only had three crews going, so that's 9 employees, and each one plays their own role. Each person is important to the crew and the success of the crew. It's really important to take care of your body, especially your ears, throughout the summer, just because you're underwater for so long and you can do some damage if you don't take good care of them. All right. And as for professional organizations, we aren't a part of any, I believe. We're just like the type of work we do is so specific and unique. So it's like kind of hard to categorize that into a professional organization, but Invasive Solutions Dive Company is just a private company, and they make contracts with lake associations, foundations, and counties that permit us to get rid of the invasive species problems in these lakes. So we're just contractors, really. Is we just make contracts with these different entities, and then we.
have a question.
Sure.
You mentioned PADI, the diving association, earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that you are a part of once you get it, or like once you get your certification? So
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
You get your certification, and then you can always like go back to them for, I guess, yeah, you're a part of that organization, but yeah, they're always there for support if you have any questions or you need to tune up some of your gear pieces. So yeah, I guess like the whatever entity you get your certification through, you are a part of that. As for, okay, I'm gonna go over the worst part of my job and the best part of my job. I guess the worst part would be the last 2 weeks of the season are pretty brutal. So I guess the conditions towards the end of the season are rough, just because it's so cold. It's the coldest water I've swam in is like 50 degrees Fahrenheit. I don't think it got into the 40s, but it can be rough just because you're in there for hours at a time, and so the end of the season can be a little bit brutal. Another negative part of the job is that it's seasonal, so you got to find work during the off season. You have to figure it out. I guess that's like a common occurrence, especially in the environmental field. If you're not going for engineering or like landscape architecture or forest ranger, you do a lot of seasonal work. So after one's over, you're looking for another one. But I'm lucky enough to be asked to come back every year to do this diving thing, because they need people to come back, experienced divers to come back to teach new divers the ropes. The best part of my job is that it's fulfilling work. I get to leave work knowing that I made a positive difference for the environment. each year I come back, I notice that the lakes have less and less invasive species, which is awesome. So like what we're doing does work. It's a lot of effort, but it's just you feel or you leave work feeling good about what you're doing, which I think is pretty important. Um, it's also really fun, especially during like the midsummer times. You get to explore a whole new world. You have close contact with different underwater creatures. You get to see like snails, a bunch of fish, and I've come into contact with a ton of turtles too, which I don't know about you, but I love turtles. So yeah, I've seen some painted turtles and some snapping turtles, which can be kind of scary depending on how big they are, but most of the time they don't really pay attention to you. Um, but the bass are funny just because when you're when you're picking plants, you the sediment comes up and the fish think that there's like food like crawling around in the sediment, so they start to watch you. So you'll be picking plants and then you'll look up and just have an audience of bass just like staring at you, and it's just funny. Sometimes they'll follow you around. um but yeah, I guess I don't know how long I'm supposed to be talking for, but that's kind of my spiel. I'm willing to answer any questions anybody has.
Um,
Um,
so we had one. It was from Miss Clark. She asked, "Do you only do plants, and why?"
right. Okay. So yeah, we only do invasive plant species just because we aren't permitted to get rid of anything else like animals. Zebra mussels we leave. Um, I think it's just because the permits allow us to only do plants, um, because animals are more complex and it's harder to deal with. That's the best answer I have for that one.
And then this has no, hi, honey, how are you?
Hi, it's so good to see you.
So this has nothing to do with the current job you have, but when you were here and a student, you were an amazing artist. Do you find any time to still do artwork, and how do you fit that into your lifestyle?
Yeah, so actually, because this job is seasonal, um, throughout the winter, so that when the season's over, I I I've been selling my artwork. I've been building my own business really, in selling my art. I've been commissioned to make paintings, murals, tattoo designs, wood burnings, drawings, stuff like that, just for people's loved ones for Christmas gifts. And so that's really what I've been doing off season. So I literally am a scuba diver come summer, and come winter, I'm a professional artist, I guess.
And then, where are you currently living? Are you living in Bolton, or where are you?
I couldn't quite hear that.
Are you living in Bolton, or
I'm,
where are you living?
I'm living in Warrensburg, so I'm close by. Um, yeah.
Sarah, I have your website up here. I'll share that just a sec.
Oh, the Acrylic Earth.
Yes.
Oh, cool.
So let me just.
I just launched that yesterday, so it's like,
Oh, cool.
I don't know if there's much wrong with it, but oh yeah, it's my Etsy site. So these are the only 2 paintings I have on there. They're kind of older, but if you go to acrylicearth.com, I
Oh,
just launched, yeah, acrylicearth.com. That's it. So this is my,
That's beautiful.
thank you. Yeah, I just launched it yesterday. So I haven't found much wrong with it yet, but I'm sure something will pop up. But I have different prints available. You could get like a poster or a canvas print.
Nice.
And there's a spot where you can request a commission too. And there's a little tab where it's like about the artist, so you can find out more about my background and where I came from and why I'm an environmentalist / artist now.
That's beautiful. Is that from the Pinnacle? Oh, yeah.
Yep, that's the
Yeah,
view
that's
from
beautiful.
Pinnacle in all 4 seasons.
Oh, nice.
So from left to right, it's spring, summer, fall,
Oh,
winter.
that's cool.
Thanks.
Awesome.
And that's looking north to Tongue Mountain from
Okay.
Sagamore.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right. We've got some more questions. Anyone have any before I go?
Isla has a question. Where, like, is she in this area, like the lakes that she dives in? Like the Lord, right? It's like the Lord.
What other lakes do you dive in, and where are they?
Okay, yeah. So around here, we've worked in Glen Lake and in Scroon Lake. So Glen Lake is in Glens Falls, and Scroon Lake is like 20 minutes north. And then the one lake that we're on the most is Upper Saranac Lake. So that's kind of by Lake Placid, past Keene, up and more north in the Adirondacks. And what was I gonna say about that? Oh, that's kind of our home base during the season. So the company that I work for, they provide housing. So there's a dive house that we're all allowed to live in throughout the season. And that's where it's based, is in Saranac Lake, because a lot of the lakes that we work on are around that area. So we work in Saranac Lake, Lake Placid, Kawasa Lake, which is in Saranac Lake, Mountain View and Indian Lake, which is somewhat close by, and Chateauguay Lake, which is almost in Canada. But usually we're able to stay at the dive house or dive apartment that is provided with us, and so we can live there throughout the season. Otherwise, when we're working in Scroon Lake and Glen Lake, I was able to just live at home. I didn't have to use any of the provided housing, but they'll buy divers motel rooms for the week in lakes that are far away from the dive house.
Does dive, like, what's the farthest she can go down?
What's the farthest you usually can go down when you dive?
Okay, yeah, so because plants only grow where the light can hit, so we only have to swim the littoral zone, which is the area of the water where the sunlight can reach the bottom, because the plants won't grow in darker areas. So the deepest that I've had to dive on the job is like maybe like 25 feet, but that's like not common. Usually the plants, like the sweet spot for these invasive plants to grow are between like 5 feet and 10 feet.
So not
like,
too deep.
No, it's not deep at all. But which is good, because that's what allows us to be in the water for hours at a time. Because usually if you're going scuba diving, you're going deeper, and you're only allowed to be at the bottom for like a couple minutes, and then you have to work your way back up and make safety stops so that you don't get the bends, so that you have the right amount of nitrogen and oxygen in your system to keep you safe. So it's not very deep.
Madison, did you talk about the certification process for the school? Like,
I'll ask her. We would like to know the process of getting the scuba diving certificate, like the hours and what you have to do, like the dropping the gear into it and going down, putting it on, that process?
Okay. So for getting certified, at least in my experience, I did it through my college. So I took it as if it was a college class. I went to the class about 2 times a week, and one day would be pool time. So you'd have experience getting into the water, getting all of your gear on. I'll talk about gear. So as a scuba diver, you need a BCD, which is that vest that scuba divers wear. It's a buoyancy control device, and it allows you to like release air in order to make you sink, or fill the bladder up with air in order to make you float. And you can control like where you are vertically in the water, in the body of water that you're in, and you're attached. Well, you have tanks behind you that you get the air from. But that's what's different with my job is we don't use tanks, or else we'd have to pretty much load the whole boat up with tanks, and we would just go through so many in a day. So what we have is we have surface compressed air, which is pretty much a floating lawn mower motor. And that is pretty much our tank. So it runs on it's like a motor, so it runs on gas, and we are attached to hoses to our BCDs, and we breathe the air in like that, and that allows us to be in the water all day. And you only need to fill the tank with gas like once a day. But yeah, that's a funny thing. That's different about work diving versus like recreational diving, is we don't use tanks. I kind of went off on a tangent, but I hope that answered most of the question.
I was just gonna ask that, yeah. How often do you have to get your license renewed?
Never.
Certification? Never?
So once you have it, you're good. You're good to go. I mean, they suggest that you dive somewhat regularly so you can build your knowledge base up and like keep it current. But like you don't have to get recertified after a certain amount of time.
How often? Oh, how many things have you found in the lake that aren't like plants, like unique little wallets and stuff?
Yeah, I couldn't count. Oh my goodness. There's there are a lot of things. I actually found someone's wallet in Glen Lake, and I actually I saw his driver's license, and I looked him up on Facebook, and we had like one mutual friend, which is someone I like worked with when I was a waiter at the lakeside. And so I was able to contact him and give him his wallet back, which is pretty cool. I see a lot of shopping carts, like just abandoned at the bottom of lakes. A lot of bottles, like glass bottles. For some reason, there's a lot of, I find a lot of milk, like old glass milk cartons. That's just like a really common thing to find. But yeah, if I find trash or something, which
Take it out.
which happens a lot, I try to pick it up and bring it up to the boat as often as I can, as long as it doesn't interfere with my work.
Anyone else? How often do you recreationally dive?
So I did a recreational dive after I got certified. I went to Pennsylvania. There's this cool dive park there where there's like sunken school buses and airplanes. And that was the only time I recreationally dove before I started working. And then when I started the job, I just I haven't recreationally dived since. But I want to get to the ocean. I've never dove in the ocean. But that's a goal for me. Get to the ocean.
Sarah, I'm gonna share your website. Yes, do you know Mrs. Muscatello? You know, she owns a dive shop in Florida. Do you know that?
Yeah, I did. I actually I've been in contact with her.
Oh, good.
Yeah. I almost got certified by her, but then my school was able to
Oh, gotcha.
give a good option. Yeah.
I'm gonna share my screen one more time because I just want to. I'm gonna bring up the website for your company.
Okay. Yep, that's them.
Yeah. Anything you want me to click on here?
I mean, it's not very informative, but I guess you can go to the About Us section. And so this is, there's two owners. It is a veteran-owned and operating diving company. I don't know if it has pictures of hand harvesting versus
Let me see.
natting, but those are the two owners. They're awesome. It's Steve and Dan. They're super relatable and friendly and know what they're doing.
That's awesome.
But I guess
go ahead.
under services, I think is there's hand harvesting versus natting.
Oh, cool.
So what the dive was
What
doing
you did? You do the hand harvesting.
Yeah. But yeah. There's not much to the website, but
Okay.
kind of cool.
That's cool though. All right.
Yeah.
Other questions?
Well, no more
All right.
questions. Thank